Winter came to the desert 3 days ago. Not with snow, not with rain. It came with silence. The kind of silence that tells you something has changed in the bones of the earth. People who have never lived here think the desert knows only one face: the burning sun. The waves of heat rising from sand that could cook flesh. They are wrong. The desert has two faces, and the second one is made of ice. I have seen 55 winters in this land. Soraya has seen 50. We know the signs, the way the air turns sharp in the late afternoon, the way our breath becomes visible before the sun fully sets, the way the animals grow restless, searching for warmth they cannot find. This winter feels different, colder, more determined to test us. For 3 days now, the temperature has dropped lower than I can remember. During the day, the sun still shines, but it gives no warmth. It hangs in the sky like a distant memory of summer. And when it sets, the cold descends like a predator, silent, patient, deadly. Last night, I woke to find frost on my beard. Frost in the desert. The words sound wrong together, like a lie someone tells to confuse children. But I touched my face and felt the ice crystals melting against my fingers. This was no dream. Soraya was already awake. She always senses danger before I do. Her eyes were open in the darkness, watching the entrance of our shelter, listening to sounds I could not hear. When I looked at her, she did not need to speak. Her expression told me everything. This cold was not normal. This cold was hunting us. We have a camel. His name does not matter. What matters is that he has carried our supplies across this desert for 7 years. He has walked through sandstorms that blinded us. He has found water when we thought we would die of thirst. He has never complained, never faltered, never shown weakness, until today. The morning began like any other winter morning. Cold, yes, but manageable. I built a fire while Soraya prepared what little food we had. The camel stood nearby, his breath making clouds in the frozen air. He seemed fine. Tired, perhaps. But we were all tired. The cold steals energy even while you sleep. We ate in silence, watching the sun climb higher. It offered no comfort. The sky was clear, blue and empty, but the air remained bitter. I estimated the temperature at -8. Maybe -10 degrees. Cold enough to kill, but not immediately. Cold enough to make every movement painful, every breath sharp in the lungs. Soraya looked at the camel. I saw her eyes narrow, the way they do when she notices something wrong. She has a gift for seeing what others miss. Small changes, subtle warnings. I have learned to trust her observations more than my own. She stood and walked to the animal. Her hand pressed against his neck, then his side. She held it there for a long moment. When she turned back to me, I saw worry in her face. The camel's body temperature was dropping. He was losing the fight against the cold. I did not want to believe it. Camels are made for this land. They survive heat that would kill a horse in hours. They store water in ways that seem impossible. They are the perfect desert animal, shaped by thousands of years to thrive where nothing else can. But camels are made for heat, not cold. Their bodies know how to release warmth, not keep it. In summer, this is a gift. In winter, it becomes a death sentence. We decided to move. Walking generates heat. The camel would warm himself through movement, and we would find a more sheltered place to camp before nightfall. The plan made sense. The plan was logical. The plan failed within 2 hours. We were crossing a flat stretch of land, nothing but sand and small rocks for kilometers in every direction. The wind picked up from the north, carrying cold that cut through our clothes like knives. I pulled my turban tighter around my face, but it made little difference. The cold found every gap, every opening, every weakness in our defenses. The camel began to slow. At first I thought he was simply tired. I urged him forward with gentle pressure, the way I always do. He responded, but his steps were shorter now, less certain. His head hung lower than normal. Soraya was walking beside him, her hand resting on his flank. She looked at me and shook her head. Something was wrong, something beyond simple fatigue. Then he stumbled. In 7 years, I have never seen this animal stumble. He has walked across terrain that would break a lesser creature. He has climbed rocky hills and descended into valleys without a single misstep. His legs are strong, steady, reliable. But now he stumbled. His front leg buckled for just a moment, and he caught himself, but the damage was done. I saw the truth I had been refusing to see. The cold was winning. We stopped immediately. I unloaded the supplies from his back, hoping the reduced weight would help. Soraya examined his legs, his hooves, his joints. Nothing was broken, nothing was injured. The problem was not physical. The problem was the cold seeping into his muscles, his blood, his bones. The temperature was still dropping. I could feel it in the way my fingers grew numb inside my gloves. I could see it in the frost forming on the camel's eyelashes. -10 degrees, maybe -11. The sun was still hours from setting, and already the cold was unbearable. We needed shelter. We needed fire. We needed to save this animal that had saved us so many times. I looked around at the empty landscape. Nothing. No caves, no rocks large enough to block the wind, no trees to provide fuel for flames, just sand and sky and cold that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Soraya pointed to the east. I followed her gaze and saw what she had noticed. A slight rise in the terrain, maybe a kilometer away. It was not much, but it might provide some protection from the northern wind. It was our only option. We tried to make the camel walk. He took 3 steps and stopped. His legs were trembling now. Small vibrations I could see even from a distance. The cold had penetrated too deeply. His body was shutting down, conserving what little warmth remained for his vital organs. I felt panic rising in my chest. If the camel could not walk, we could not move him. If we could not move him, we could not reach shelter. If we could not reach shelter, we would all freeze to death in this empty place. Soraya touched my arm. Her eyes were calm, focused. She had already moved past panic into action. This is why I love her. This is why I have followed her through 50 years of marriage. When I lose myself to fear, she finds the path forward. She began unpacking our supplies with quick, efficient movements. Blankets, the small tent we carry for emergencies. Dried brush we had collected 2 days ago for fire fuel. A clay pot, a piece of flint. She was going to build our shelter here, in the open, with nothing but what we carried. I understood immediately and began to help. We would not reach the rise to the east. We would make our stand in this place, on this flat and frozen ground. We would fight the cold with everything we had. The first task was the tent. It was small, meant for 2 people at most, but we positioned it on the southern side of the camel. This would block some of the wind and create a pocket of slightly warmer air. The camel would benefit from our fire, and we would benefit from his body heat. Together we might survive. Soraya took the flint and began working on the fire. This is her skill, not mine. My hands are strong but clumsy with delicate tasks. Her hands are precise, patient, knowing. She has started fires in rain, in wind, in conditions that would defeat most men. But this cold was different. The brush was stiff with frost. The air itself seemed to resist flame. She struck the flint once, twice, 10 times. Sparks flew but died immediately, swallowed by the frozen air. I watched her face as she worked. No frustration, no despair, just concentration. She adjusted her angle, chose different pieces of brush, created a small nest of the driest material she could find. She struck the flint again. A spark caught, then died. She struck again. Another spark, Another death. My own hands were shaking now, and not just from cold. Time was running out. The camel had lowered himself to the ground, his legs folded beneath him. This was bad. When a camel lies down in cold weather, it means he has given up fighting. It means he is preparing to die. Soraya did not look at the camel. She did not look at me. Her entire world had narrowed to the flint in her hand and the brush at her feet. She struck again. This time the spark found a home. A tiny ember glowed in the nest of dried grass. Soraya bent low and breathed on it, soft and steady, feeding it oxygen without overwhelming it. The ember grew. It became a flame. The flame spread to the surrounding brush. Fire. In the middle of frozen nowhere, Soraya had created fire. I wanted to celebrate, to embrace her, to cry with relief. But there was no time. The fire was small, fragile, hungry for fuel. I fed it carefully, adding brush piece by piece, building it slowly into something that could fight the cold. Soraya moved to the camel. She spread one of our blankets over his back, tucking it around his body to trap whatever warmth remained. She pressed herself against his side, adding her own body heat to his. She was warming him the way a mother warms a child. I kept feeding the fire. The flames grew higher, stronger, pushing back the cold in a small circle around us. The heat reached my face, my hands, my frozen feet. It was not enough, not nearly enough, but it was something. The sun began to set. The temperature dropped further. I had no way to measure it precisely, but I guessed -12 degrees, maybe colder, the kind of cold that kills without warning. We had perhaps 2 hours of brush remaining. After that, the fire would die. After the fire died, we would follow. I thought about all the things I had not done, the prayers I had not said, the words I had not spoken to Soraya, the life we had built together, day by difficult day, in this unforgiving land. Was this how it would end? Frozen in the sand, forgotten by the world? The camel made a sound, low, weak, but unmistakable. He was still fighting. Somehow, despite everything, he was still fighting. If the camel could fight, so could we. I looked around the campsite, searching for anything we might have missed. Our supplies were spread on the ground, arranged for easy access. Food, water, tools, clothing. And then I saw it. The saddle blanket. Heavy wool, thick and dense. We used it to protect the camel's back from the weight of our supplies. It was sitting on the ground, forgotten in our panic. I grabbed it and brought it to Soraya. She understood immediately. Together we wrapped it around the camel's chest, covering the area where his heart beat. If we could keep his core warm, he might survive. But we were running out of fuel. The fire was eating through our brush, faster than I had expected. The cold demanded constant feeding, constant sacrifice. Soon we would have nothing left to give. Soraya stood and walked away from the camel. I watched her, confused, as she moved toward the edge of our small circle of warmth. What was she doing? There was nothing out there but sand and darkness and cold that would kill her in minutes. She bent down and began digging. I did not understand at first. The ground was frozen hard, difficult to penetrate. But Soraya dug with her hands, scraping away the top layer of sand to reveal what lay beneath. And then I understood. Roots. Dried roots from desert plants long dead. They ran just beneath the surface, hidden from view but still present, still burnable. The desert had given us fuel if we knew where to find it. I joined her, digging alongside her in the frozen sand. My hands ached with cold. My fingers felt like wooden sticks, clumsy and slow. But I dug. I pulled roots from the earth, shook off the sand, carried them back to the fire. Soraya found more and more. She has eyes that see what others cannot. She found roots where I saw only empty ground. She found fuel where I saw only death. We dug for hours, or maybe it was minutes. Time loses meaning when you are fighting to survive. All I knew was the rhythm of dig, pull, carry, dig, pull, carry, again and again until my arms burned with exhaustion. The fire stayed alive. The roots burned longer than the brush, giving off steady heat that pushed back against the frozen night. We built a wall of warmth around the camel, around ourselves, around the small piece of ground we had claimed from the cold. Soraya returned to the camel's side. She lay down against him, her body pressed to his, sharing whatever heat she could spare. I saw her hand stroking his neck, slow and gentle, the way she might comfort a frightened child. The camel's eyes were half closed, but he was watching her. He knew what she was doing. He knew she was trying to save him. Animals understand more than we think. They know kindness. They know sacrifice. I sat by the fire and kept feeding it roots. My body wanted to sleep, to surrender to the exhaustion that filled every muscle. But I could not sleep. If I slept, the fire would die. If the fire died, everything died. The night stretched on forever. The stars emerged, cold and distant, offering no comfort. The moon rose, white and hard, turning the desert into a frozen mirror. The wind continued its assault, finding gaps in our defenses, stealing warmth wherever it could. I thought about death, not with fear exactly, but with curiosity. What would it feel like? Would it be painful, or would the cold simply put us to sleep? Would we dream as we died? Would we see the faces of those we loved? I looked at Soraya, still pressed against the camel, still fighting with everything she had. She had not given up. She would never give up. This woman who had walked beside me for 50 years, who had shared every hardship and every joy, who knew my thoughts before I spoke them. If she was still fighting, I had no right to surrender. I dug more roots. I fed the fire. I prayed to whatever gods might be listening. The coldest moment came just before dawn. I know this because I felt it in my bones. A final push from the winter that seemed determined to break us. The temperature dropped to -12, maybe -13. The air itself seemed to crystallize, each breath a knife in my lungs. The camel stopped trembling. For a terrible moment, I thought he had died. I called out to Soraya, my voice cracking in the frozen air. She looked at me, then at the camel. Her hand moved to his neck, feeling for a pulse. She nodded. He was alive. He had stopped trembling because his body had finally found equilibrium. The blankets, the fire, Soraya's warmth, they had been enough. His core temperature had stabilized. But we were not safe yet. Dawn was still an hour away, and our fuel was running low. The pile of roots I had gathered was shrinking with each passing minute. We needed more, but I was not sure I had the strength to dig. Soraya rose from the camel's side. She saw the dwindling fuel supply and understood the problem immediately. Without a word, she walked to the edge of our circle and began to dig. I tried to join her, but my legs would not obey. The night had taken too much from me. I was empty, hollowed out by cold and exhaustion. All I could do was watch as Soraya worked alone, pulling roots from the frozen earth with hands that must have been as numb as mine. She found enough. Somehow she found enough. She always finds enough. When I fail, she succeeds. When I fall, she stands. This is the truth of our partnership, the balance that has kept us alive for so many years. The sky began to lighten in the east, not with warmth, not yet, but with the promise of warmth to come. The sun was rising. We had survived the night. The camel lifted his head. For the first time in hours, he looked alert, aware of his surroundings. His eyes found Soraya and held her gaze. I do not know what passed between them in that moment, but I saw her smile. A small smile, tired but real. She had saved him. Through the longest and coldest night of the year, she had kept him alive. The sun climbed higher, and with it came the first true warmth we had felt in days. It was not much, perhaps a few degrees above freezing, but it felt like summer after the night we had endured. The cold began to retreat, beaten back by light and heat, and the simple fact that we had refused to die. We stayed in our camp until midday. There was no reason to hurry. The camel needed rest, and so did we. I slept for a few hours, curled by the dying fire, while Soraya kept watch. Then she slept while I sat with the camel, feeding him small amounts of water, watching his strength slowly return. By afternoon, he was standing again. Weak, yes, but standing. His legs trembled slightly, but they held. He took a few steps, testing himself, and did not fall. The cold had not broken him. We decided to move toward the rise we had seen the day before. It would take several hours at our slow pace, but we would have shelter by nightfall. Real shelter, with rocks to block the wind and a place to build a proper fire. The walk was difficult. My body ached in ways I had never experienced. Every joint, every muscle, every bone seemed to protest the movement, but I walked. Soraya walked beside me, her hand occasionally touching my arm, reminding me that I was not alone. The camel walked behind us, carrying nothing but himself. We had left most of our supplies at the old camp, taking only what we needed to survive the night. We would return for the rest later, when we had recovered our strength. The sun set, just as we reached the rise. It was better than I had hoped. A natural depression in the rock created a shelter from the wind, almost like a shallow cave. Soraya began gathering brush, while I helped the camel settle into a protected spot. We worked together as we always do, without words, without instructions. The fire that night was glorious, not because it was large or particularly warm, but because we had earned it. Every flame represented a victory over the cold that had tried to kill us. Soraya sat beside me, close enough that I could feel her warmth through our clothes. The camel lay nearby, his eyes reflecting the firelight, his breathing slow and steady. We had all survived. Against every reasonable expectation, we had all survived. I thought about what the desert had taught me in those terrible hours. It had taught me that death can come from anywhere, even from the same land that gives you life. The desert I thought I knew, the hot and burning desert of summer, was only half the story. The winter desert is a different creature entirely, with different rules and different dangers. But the desert had also taught me about strength. Not my own strength, which had failed when I needed it most, but Soraya's strength. The strength of her hands, starting a fire in impossible conditions. The strength of her eyes, finding fuel where I saw nothing. The strength of her heart, refusing to give up even when everything seemed lost. She caught me looking at her and raised an eyebrow. After 50 years, she can read my thoughts as easily as I read hers. She knew I was thinking about her, about us, about what we had survived together. I wanted to tell her what she meant to me. I wanted to speak the words I had never spoken, the gratitude that filled my heart. But some things cannot be captured in language. Some things can only be felt in the space between two people who have walked the same path for half a century. Instead, I reached out and took her hand. Her fingers were still cold from the day's work, rough and calloused from years of labor. But they were alive. We were alive. She squeezed my hand once, then released it. No words were necessary. The camel made a sound, low and content. He was warm now, safe, fed. He would live to walk with us another day, another month, another year. The cold had not claimed him. I added more wood to the fire and watched the flames dance against the darkness. The stars were out again, the same cold stars that had watched us nearly die the night before. But they looked different now, less hostile, almost welcoming. The desert teaches many things to those who listen. It teaches patience, for nothing happens quickly in this land. It teaches humility, for the desert is always stronger than any single person. It teaches respect, for the forces that can kill you deserve to be respected. But most of all, the desert teaches love. Not the soft love of easy times, but the hard love of shared struggle. The love that grows when two people face death together and refuse to let go. The love that says, without words, I will fight for you until my last breath. Soraya was already asleep, her head resting against my shoulder. Her breathing was slow and even, the breathing of someone who has earned their rest. I let her sleep. After what she had done, she deserved to sleep for 100 years. The fire crackled and popped, sending sparks up toward the stars. The camel's eyes were closed, his body finally relaxed after the ordeal he had endured. The wind had died down, leaving the night almost peaceful. Tomorrow we would return for our supplies. We would rebuild what the cold had scattered. We would continue our journey across this beautiful and terrible land. But tonight, we would rest. I pulled my blanket tighter around my shoulders and looked out at the desert. The sand glowed silver in the moonlight, stretching to the horizon in every direction. Somewhere out there, the cold was still waiting. It would return. It always returns. But we would be ready. Soraya stirred slightly in her sleep, murmuring something I could not understand. Her hand found mine in the darkness and held it loosely, instinctively, the way it has held mine for 50 years. I closed my eyes and let the warmth of the fire wash over me. The cold had tested us, and we had passed. The desert had tried to take everything from us, and we had given it nothing but our determination. This is how we survive. Not through strength alone, but through partnership. Not through courage alone, but through the quiet love that grows between two people who have faced the worst together. The night deepened around us, but I was not afraid. The fire would burn until morning. Soraya was beside me. The camel was safe. We had won this battle. We would win the next one too. This is what the desert has taught me in 55 years of living in its shadow. The land does not care if you survive. It does not hope for your death or wish for your success. It simply exists, beautiful and brutal, indifferent to human struggles. But we are not indifferent. We care, we fight, we love, and in the end, that is enough. The fire burned lower, settling into coals that would last through the night. I should have added more wood, but I was too tired to move. Tomorrow I would be stronger. Tomorrow we would face whatever challenges the desert presented. But tonight, I was grateful. Grateful for the warmth of the fire. Grateful for the breath in my lungs. Grateful for the woman sleeping beside me, whose hands had once again pulled us back from the edge of death. Soraya, my partner, my love, my reason for fighting. The stars wheeled slowly overhead, marking the passage of time in their ancient dance. The moon crossed the sky from east to west, its cold light gradually replaced by the first hints of dawn. I watched it all through half-closed eyes, suspended between sleep and waking. The world was beautiful in those quiet hours. Even the frozen desert, the land that had nearly killed us, seemed peaceful in the early morning light. The camel woke first, lifting his head to greet the sun. He looked stronger than he had the day before, more like the animal I had known for 7 years. The cold had not broken him. It had tested him, pushed him to his limits, but he had endured. Like us, like Soraya, like every creature that refuses to surrender. I stirred the coals and added fresh wood to restart the fire. Soraya woke at the sound, stretching slowly, her joints cracking after a night on hard ground. She looked at me with clear eyes, fully present, ready for whatever the day would bring. We did not speak. We did not need to. Our hands moved through the familiar routines of morning, packing supplies, checking the camel, preparing for the journey ahead. The sun rose higher, warming the air with each passing minute. By midday, the temperature would be almost comfortable. The brutal cold of the night would become a memory, a story we might tell someday. But we would not forget. We could not forget. The desert had shown us its second face, and we had survived. That knowledge would stay with us forever. Before we left the shelter, I paused to look back at the place where we had spent the night. The ashes of our fire, the impressions in the sand where we had slept, the marks left by the camel's body. In a few days, the wind would erase all evidence of our presence. The desert would forget we were ever here, but we would remember. Soraya touched my arm, her signal that it was time to move. I nodded and turned away from our shelter. The journey continued. The camel walked steadily beside us, his strength returning with each step. Soraya led the way, her eyes scanning the horizon for dangers I could not see. I followed, my thoughts drifting between past and future. We had survived the coldest night of the year. We had saved our camel when it seemed impossible. We had proven once again that partnership and determination could overcome even the harshest conditions. The desert stretched before us, endless and eternal. More challenges waited ahead. More nights of cold, more days of heat, more tests of our strength and resolve. But we would face them together, as we always have, as we always will. The sun climbed higher in the sky, and the frozen sand began to warm beneath our feet. The world that had tried to kill us now welcomed us back, indifferent to our survival, but no longer hostile. This is the desert. This is our home. And we are still here.